And joining me on the show now to decode this historic visit is former Foreign Secretary of India, Ambassador Shashank. Sir, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you,
You,
Neha.
when we spoke earlier this week, we talked about the expectations that people had from this high profile visit. By now, we have a fairly good idea of how it is turning out. During the ceremonial welcome that was accorded to the Prime Minister, President Biden said India and the US are two great nations, friends, and powers that share democratic values, and India US ties will define the 21st century. Would you say that this visit is indeed epoch making and one that signals the cementing of a defining partnership, as President Biden put it?
Absolutely. I think Neha, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi have taken decisive steps in order to bring the world safer, Asia safer, and India and America uh, having very close bonds of friendship and working on the futuristic kind of technologies, uh, which I think is the demand for the day. So, as a diplomat, I would be able to say that it is not only a bilateral relationship, but the global scenario as it has developed, and particularly in Asia, the situation has been that the US needs India at this stage when India is becoming a fast growing economic power. It has always talked of peace and it has been able to deliver on that. It has helped very much in Ukraine to the extent that uh, it has been able to keep Ukraine away from really destructive warfare. And secondly, even in Asia, we have been trying to work together with other countries to make sure that China remains a civilizational power, remains a friendly power, does not push its way among the neighboring countries. So I think America has realized that it is not the kind of relationship which they were thinking of getting with India earlier, let's say 20 years ago. Then also we were thinking in terms of building strong ties. But now what USA has realized that India's friendship is extremely important, not only for bilateral relations, for the global scene. And what we have done during the COVID period, and this is remarkable, when the American companies, British companies, they were all trying to make money out of the misery of the people.
It would not be incorrect to say that defense and technology cooperation really seem to be the leitmotif of this entire visit. And, we are looking at fresh evidence of that. Prime Minister Narendra Modi at this tech handshake event, accompanied by President Biden at the White House.
Well, all the US presidents want to leave a legacy for world peace and for the United States. I think President Biden has that feeling, and he has a very long, distinguished career as a public person in the United States. So I think he knows tremendously well as to how the international trends are moving. And he has been able to study and take action that right now is the moment when on technology sector, on defense sector, India needs to be brought in as a partner, not just as a buyer, but also as a co-developer of technologies. And India has been able to do a lot of things on its own also in the space sector and in the fintech sector, where we have our UPI and we have developed the Aadhaar card, a unique identification framework, which even the American technical experts have said that, well, that is something which they may not have got easily. So therefore, I think there are these things that Americas have technology, they have defense, and they have many achievements to their credit. They are now finding that the Chinese are likely to uh, leave them behind in some of the sectors, and the Chinese are not changing their attitude. They are not becoming more democratic, more liberal, but they are going to the contrary direction. In fact, they are assisting the uh, terrorists coming out of Pakistan, out of Afghanistan, and other places. They are also creating an environment where people living in China feel threatened by the state. I think this is the issue on which the United States has finally taken a decision that India is the right country with whom they should develop a long-term partnership and go ahead with it by taking into account the views that India has about itself and about the countries in the region. I think that is the extremely important change which has come about. I think in the American stand, even now, before the visit had started, we knew that many people in America were uncomfortable with this new relationship coming up between Rashtrapati Biden and Prime Minister Modi, because they felt that the Americans should have put more pressure on India, because that was the only way to deal with India. I think that President Biden has decided that that is not the way to go about, because the chance is that if we lose this opportunity, we may not get this opportunity for a very long time in future. I think that is why for India it's a rare moment. For the American government also it's a rare moment where they have taken the lead, and I think they both need to be congratulated, and they will be remembered for a very long time for this historic visit, for the decisions which they have taken, which will build the long-term relationships and the future technical tie-ups. But of course, we'll have to see how India absorbs the technologies, how India develops them. But the point remains that we are on the right track, and we have taken very concrete measures for which we have been working on for the last 20, 25 years.
Right. Now, at this event where some of the biggest names from corporate India and corporate America are present, Prime Minister Modi just said the coming together of talent and technology guarantees a brighter future. President Biden, apart from reiterating that India and the US are going to define the 21st century, has also said our cooperation matters not just for our own people, but to the whole world. Now, we've seen, not only have there been some extremely critical defense deals that have been inked during this visit, and we'll come to that in a moment. But, let's look at the kind of engagement that's taking place between the two countries, the collaboration that's happening in the area of tech. We talked earlier about how, the initiative on critical and emerging technologies has become the framework for this relationship now. The Micron deal, for example, Micron investing in $2.75 billion deal to set up a semiconductor facility in India. And it'll be the first of its kind for India. So clearly the two countries, are very clear about what they need to prioritize in the current global environment.
Yes, for a long time we had been thinking of bringing the semiconductor industry into India, but it was so difficult because firstly, the technology, secondly, all the allied infrastructure which is required to be created for having the semiconductors. I think that was really considered way beyond the Indian capabilities at one time. Now, Micron is coming here and they have set a time frame of about 5 years when they would be able to develop the semiconductors. And not only that, the Americans have agreed that for the 5G and 6G, not only platforms, but all the connected infrastructure will be created, which will be helpful for India and for the other countries which want to go for the 5G, 6G technologies. And similarly, in the space sector, they are trying to work on this. On the other emerging technologies sector, they are working, defense area, of course. So I think they have covered a whole set of issues. And as we discussed, even about the students and about the H-1B visa holders who used to face difficulties in extending their visas, I think now, after there were visa delays, I hope that there would be now concrete results and there would be much relief for all these people in future after following Prime Minister Modi's visit.